right, my adhesive has dried till it's translucent. And you can see it got a little bit darker. So we are going to tuck those aside for when we are working on those cards. And we're going to work on this one here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my die cuts for the Wisemen. I've got my die right here. And let's get the machine. So I'm going to position my die as far or as high as I want it to be on the piece of cardstock here, and then I'm going to die cut it. There we go. Now I didn't quite reach all the way to the end of the piece of paper. My paper was slightly longer, but that's okay. So I just ripped that off. We're going to be cutting it shorter to fit the blue piece of paper anyways, so we just want to have that prepped. Now you need to take all of these bits and pieces out of your die before we do the next one. We're going to cut a white piece just from the bottom, just to do the bottom here, because I thought that would look better in white than on black. If you like the black, leave it at the black. This tool here is a Spellbinders 2-in-1. It makes it super easy to get all those little bits off very quickly. And normally I do this over a garbage can, but there you go. Now all those black bits are out of there and we're ready to die cut the next color. So I'm placing just the bottom. I don't need the entire thing. I'm just concentrating on this part here because that's the part that I want to keep for the card. Go. Pull that out there, and then you're going to take all the white bits out. We don't need this die anymore, but that way it's going to be nice and clean for the next time we use it. And what I'm going to do with this piece here is I'm going to cut the bottom of all those figures off because we're just using it for the hill here. And then just below the camel piece there. So all of this can go in the garbage. And there we go. So this is going to be glued on to that piece right there. I'm just going to use my glue to do that so that can dry while we're getting the rest of it ready. And you don't have to worry about this being the same size as the black, because whatever is short on the black is going to be hidden. If by chance, so this is where I tore it at the end, if by chance you've got that showing, just snip it off there. There we go. Put that aside. And now I want to die cut my star. Now the thing with the star is I want to die cut both my card base as well as the blue mat, which is why we put the temporary adhesive on there. So I'm going to position my blue piece where I want it, center it as best as possible, and we have the temporary adhesive on there. I'm going to put the star die down. Now these are thin die, so it won't actually cut through both pieces of paper, but it will leave a big enough indent on the card base that I'll be able to position my die in that exact same spot. So we will run that through there. So you can see the indent of it. I could probably rip it and try to get that star out of there, but it would make it would look really bad on the inside of the card. So I'm taking my tape off, and this is just a die tape. It's temporary tape. It's perfect for holding a die in place. Oops, you don't want to do that. So now that I did that, I'm going to do the same thing that I did for if there was white on the bottom of the card there, I'm going to ink that to hide that. All right, take this tape off, and my glue seems to be super sticky today, even though I waited for it to dry. It's funny, I've used this glue for this hundreds of times, and for some reason, today it doesn't want to work. I'm going to take the blue off of here, and then I'm going to line that star up, and it's super easy to line up the second time because you've already got the grooves in there from the first cut. Put my tape just to hold it in place while I turn it upside down, and now I've got the adhesive on there to hold it in place. There we go. Now our star is completely die cut. The adhesive from the blue piece transferred onto the red, so now it's sticking to my machine. All right, you want to make sure that none of that stays on there for the next die cut. All right, so now we've got our red piece out of there. Let's get rid of the machine. Put my die to the side, and we can assemble our card. So I'm going to take double-sided tape. Here it is, underneath where I put my die. So I've got some double-sided tape here that I'm going to put on the top piece here, the bottom here, and then on my sides. And I probably didn't really need that much adhesive, but because the cardstock has warped a little bit when we did our distressed background, I just want to make sure that it's going to stick down really, really well. So I've got a little piece of gold vellum. We're going to put that in the window here. Take the backing to my tape off. All right. So I'm not covering all of the adhesive on the top and the side because I want to be able to use some of that for gluing it onto the front of the card. So this is where I was saying, if you happen to rip some of your card with the adhesive, the temporary adhesive, to line it up, it doesn't matter because we are going to put it right down there anyways. Before I do that though, I am going to use this mat so it doesn't stick. I'm just going to ink that white part there. And what happened there is there was a little bit, or there was too much pressure on my machine on that piece of tape, so it just stuck really, really well. And I was trying to rush while I was taking it off. So by inking it the same way as we did the front, it kind of hides it in our background. So if that happens to you, don't worry about it. There's a way to fix it. I mean, I have that extra background piece because our background made 4, so I could have just cut another one. But it's always nice to know the way to fix a mistake as well. Get rid of the mat. All right. And now we will put this onto the front of the card. And this is why we were really careful when we positioned it the first time, because if we position it nice and evenly within our front of our card, we will have it positioned lovely with the star on the inside. You can lift it up to the light just to check and make sure that it's completely there.